Hi, I'm Dr. Julie Zabelman. I'm a local psychologist, and I'm here with Sylvia, who can introduce herself.
Hi, Sylvia Bridewich. I'm the owner of Bridewich Law Firm located in Wall Township, New Jersey.
And today we wanted to address some issues that have been coming up. So, Sylvia, can you kind of give us a little bit of an idea about what we can talk about today?
So, one of the things that Julie and I wanted to talk to everyone about today was how to navigate your relationships, your personal relationships, while everybody's in the house together, all trying to do their thing. Everybody's trying to work, everyone's homeschooling, all under the same roof, all in tight quarters, which is just not easy. So, we wanted to talk about some helpful tips in navigating those volatile times. And then, really, what the differentiation is between a volatile time versus a volatile relationship and resources that are available to those in those volatile relationships during this pandemic that we're going through.
So, it is hard for relationships that have been strained before this all started. Now is an especially difficult time because before you were going to work, before you were going out, before you were kind of living parallel lives. And now, for the most part, you may be stuck in your house together. So, how do you navigate that? Like, how do you stay out of each other's way and prevent problems from escalating? So, one of the tips is literally do that, stay out of each other's way. Have a honest conversation about the fact that being in the same space all the time is hard for the two of you. And this is obviously easier if both partners are kind of on the same page about how things aren't that great between you. It's a little harder if only one partner thinks that.
Right.
But to as much as possible, have a conversation about the fact that it is okay to have your own space. This is, by the way, important even if your relationship is perfectly functional, right? Everybody kind of needs their own space, and people don't need to be in each other's face at all times for 24 hours. So determine kind of some me time, whatever that means, whether you go to the other room to read a book or whether you watch movies on your own. And if the relationship is really kind of on the rocks, then do more of that rather than less. Figure out what kind of things you guys are okay doing together. So let's say you may be okay having a meal, or you may be okay doing something kind of low interactive like a movie. And that's important just so you can maintain some sort of contact, right? Because there's really nobody else to talk to. But if you find that it's too much, it is okay to separate and be clear with your partner about the fact that that's the plan. Right. The other thing is try to be flexible with each other, and not everything that the other person says needs to be grounds for a fight. Although you may feel like you're totally justified in going after them because they did something insensitive or they did something or other, it's okay. You don't have to make everything a fight. You can let some things go. Everybody's stressed, right? And stress is cumulative. So with every passing day, people get more and more stressed, which means they're more and more likely to be doing and saying things that aren't exactly to your liking. It's okay. Try to be understanding and flexible. Any thoughts, Sylvia, for the kind of conflicts you're getting?
I agree. I mean, I think that these are circumstances people are not really used to. While people cohabitate all the time, it's very rare that people are cohabitating together 24/7 without having any break for relief with one person out of the house, the children out of the house for any particular period of time. So it's difficult, and it's okay that it's difficult. But one of the issues that's coming up in the work that I do is that sometimes oftentimes there's a difference between a volatile situation where it's difficult because everybody's under the same roof versus two people that are in a volatile relationship being stuck under the same roof. So, for example, where there is a history or it's a relationship where there's a propensity for domestic violence, these are scary times for people because you're not able to voluntarily just leave and go wherever you want and take that break and go and visit friends or go walk around the mall or do what you need to do to get out. A lot of people have questions about where do I go and what happens now if something happens while I'm in this house. And those are legitimate fears. One of the things that I tell anyone who's coming to me and having the conversation of being in a relationship and that they're a victim of domestic violence is that you need to come up with a plan. An exit strategy is always better because it gives you a little bit more confidence and it gives you a little bit more wherewithal about what happens next. And this is a hard time to come up with that plan. But you still have access to the legal resources that are available to victims of domestic violence during this time. I know that there's a lot going out there on social media and out there through the news and everything about courthouses closing and courts being closed or shutting down or operating in certain fashions and there not being judges around. A lot of that is true, but there are procedures in place for people who are victims of domestic violence who need immediate and emergent assistance. What we are being directed to tell our clients really is to contact your local police department. And through the police department, you can get access to the local municipalities to get the protective orders that you need. I don't know when those hearings are being set up through the court or how they're being set up at this time, depending on what jurisdiction you're in. That's going to differ, but those protections that are available to you under a restraining order are still going to be available. So if you are a victim of domestic violence, you do not need to be afraid that you are stuck in this particular household and in this particular setting. You do have resources available to you to get the protection that you need. If you have family or friends that you can stay with, you are allowed to visit those family and friends and get yourself out of that particular violent situation or that scary situation during this time. You're not locked into that particular house. As much as we're calling this a lockdown, that doesn't mean that you cannot leave. You are entitled to get yourself protection. And there are ways to protect yourself during that time. So I don't want anyone to feel as though, as scary as this is, if that situation at home is problematic, you do have resources that are still available and accessible to you that you can use through this time.
And if possible, and if possible, I was going to add that if you know this is potentially going to be a problem and you do have other options, stay there, right? You don't have to wait until a situation actually blows up to get out, right? So if you and your spouse know that when, things get stressed, things get bad between you, then say, you know what, I think I'm going to do this quarantine at my parents' house, or I'm going to stay with a friend. It's okay, right? It's better to do it that way and have a little fight about that than wait until you're two feeling stuck in the house and things explode.
Absolutely. And if that's the situation and you know that the two of you have a propensity to be explosive or volatile during these times, doing exactly what Julie says is what you should do. That's better for you. It's better for your partner. It's better for your children. And so long as you're maintaining that parental relationship during that time, there's nothing that says that you need to be under the same roof and sleeping in the same bed as someone during a pandemic. I mean, there's no rule on that. So you have to use your best judgment and you have to use your, a little bit of your intuition here as to how you think this is going to go and what your concerns are and address those. And there's avenues that you can do that with, whether it's through personal relationships with friends and family. And, if it gets down to that point where it is really an issue from a legal perspective, those resources are available.
Right. And keep in mind that keeping yourself safe from domestic violence is just as important as keeping yourself safe from the virus, right?
Absolutely.
You don't want to end up in a hospital for, unfortunately, a domestic violence incident, just like you don't want to end up in a hospital for something happening related to the virus. So keeping yourself safe on every avenue is by far the most important.
Absolutely. Thank you for mentioning that. That's very, very important. Everyone's safety, regardless of safety from what, in this particular situation, is of the utmost importance.
If you have any additional questions or comments, please use us as a resource. We'd love to offer you additional help if we can. Reach out in whatever way you're comfortable. For people for whom volatile relationships are a problem, just keep in mind how you reach out to people and what it is that you're doing, as you probably already know. But now that everybody, again, is in the same space and there's a lot less privacy, just make sure you're being conscientious about what you're doing.
Right. And if you are a victim of domestic violence during this time, please use your resources and your local resources to contact the police department and get yourself to a safe place.
Okay. Hope everybody stays safe and healthy.
Thank you. And we'll see you soon. Thank you, Julie.